Okay, let's jump right into this explainer of Julian Biba's novel Whispers of the Past. Today, we're unpacking a miraculous, totally tension-filled survival story set right against the grim backdrop of World War II. We're going to explore how one small nation's ancient, unyielding code of honor basically became an unbreakable shield against some of the most ruthless military forces in history.
But before we even meet our main characters, we really have to look at this shocking historical reality that sets the stage. It's a beacon of hope, really. Back in 1934, the U.S. ambassador, Herman Bernstein, pointed out something incredible. He noted that Albania stood out in Europe as a place fundamentally devoid of religious prejudice. So while the rest of the continent was fracturing and falling apart, this unique tolerance became the absolute engine of survival for the people we're about to follow.
Section 1. An Unlikely Haven.
We kick things off by seeing the intergenerational impact of this history right in the modern day. Meet Daniel. He's an 80-year-old survivor who's built a long, peaceful life far away from the horrors of the war. Well, his granddaughter, Liza, decides she wants to travel to Albania for love. Daniel's son, Eli, is furious. He's totally worried. But Daniel, he gives his heartfelt approval. He simply says, "They saved us both." It's a beautiful moment that ties the present directly to a harrowing 1940s flashback, and it really makes you ask, what exactly happened to Daniel over half a century ago?
Section 2. Escape from Thessaloniki. So, our story flashes back to 1940s Greece. A young Daniel and his pregnant, non-Jewish partner, Sophia, are staring down a looming Nazi threat. Let's just trace their frantic journey for a second, because it's wild. It kicks off with this terrifying SS raid at a restaurant. Shortly after, Sophia actually takes a bullet meant for Daniel. Desperate to save her, Daniel teams up with his friend Alex to orchestrate this incredibly dangerous escape. They literally steal an unconscious Sophia from the hospital in the back of a truck, they speed through warning gunfire, cross the Albanian border just steps ahead of the Nazis, and finally, exhausted, they collapse at the doorstep of a man named Dr. Skampa.
And chasing them? Well, we have two very different faces of the enemy. On one hand, there's Hans. He is your textbook, ruthless SS fanatic, massacring innocents, burning down villages without a second thought. But on the other hand, there's Dieter. Dieter is a highly tactical, pragmatic commander. He prefers cold, hard strategy over blind bloodshed. But together, man, they represent an unstoppable, terrifying force, closing right in on our couple.
Section 3. The Code of Bassa. So Daniel and an unconscious Sophia are taken in by Dr. Skampa. He's a humanist who treats everybody equally, Italian deserters, communist rebels, even German soldiers. But to understand why Dr. Skampa risks absolutely everything for total strangers, you have to understand Besa. This is an ancient Albanian cultural code, and it's not just a casual promise. It is a profound, unbreakable obligation. When an Albanian gives their Besa, they literally must keep their word, even if it costs them their own life. It's the ultimate guarantee of protection. And Dr. Shampa embodies this code completely. He welcomes everyone, and yes, even the SS, with the traditional greeting of bread, salt, and a big heart. But here's where it gets absolutely staggering. When pushed to the absolute edge by the Nazis, he flat out refuses to surrender the refugees he's hiding. He actually views breaking his Besa as a fate way worse than death. He quite literally offers to let the SS execute his entire family in the town square rather than hand over his guests. Just incredible.
Section 4. Hiding in plain sight.
This kicks off what is undoubtedly the most tense sequence in the entire narrative. I mean, you really have to ask yourself, what is the best way to keep a hunted family hidden when the Nazis are literally searching house to house, especially when ruthless commanders like Hans and Dieter are stationed right down the street?
Dr. Skampa's shocking answer? You invite the SS to dinner. It's a move of sheer, brilliant audacity. It serves as the ultimate cover. By bringing the highest-ranking enemy officers directly into his own dining room, he creates this illusion of total transparency. Because really, who would suspect a host of hiding refugees when he's casually pouring cognac for the exact men hunting them?
But the stakes of this dinner are unimaginably high. While Skampa sits upstairs calmly debating theology and honor with the SS, Sophia is secretly giving birth to a baby down in the basement. She literally has to muffle her cries of labor pain into a folded towel, surrounded only by Daniel and Skampa's wife, mere feet beneath the heavy boots of the commanders who want them dead. Talk about hiding in plain sight.
Of course, this perfect illusion eventually shatters, and it happens from the inside. Enter Ramiz.
He's a local communist rebel and a photographer who wanted to marry Skampa's teenage daughter, Elsa. When Skampa rejects him, Ramiz seeks bitter revenge. Out of sheer spite, he actually snaps a photo of Daniel out in the plaza and sells that exposing information directly to Commander Hans.
Section 5. The Journey to Freedom.
So Hans confronts Dr. Skampa with the photographic proof. But true to form, Skampa still refuses to break his besa. This forces Hans to temporarily back off to get reinforcements, which gives Skampa a tiny, and I mean tiny, high-stakes window to execute an extraction plan. What follows is a breathless sequence. There's a frantic horse cab ride in the dead of night, a rendezvous at a local Orthodox priest's house, and a super tense standoff against Ramiz at a communist checkpoint. Ultimately, they talk their way past the guns and make it to the sea to meet a sympathetic fishing boat captain.
But securing that freedom demands a heartbreaking twist. Sophia is still weak, recovering from both a gunshot wound and childbirth. She knows she cannot survive the rough journey. So, in this massive act of sacrifice, she insists Daniel take baby Eli on the boat to Italy. She has to remain behind, trusting this Skampa family to keep her hidden until the war ends. Just imagine that agony for a second. Daniel stepping onto that boat, clutching his newborn son, leaving the love of his life behind in enemy territory.
Thankfully, the story leaves us with a moment of hard-won, cautious triumph. Fast forward 3 months later. The Skampa family and Sophia are gathered safely in the kitchen. Elsa tunes the radio, and they hear the broadcast that once felt impossible. Germany has surrendered to the United Nations. The immense sacrifice of the Skampa family and their completely unyielding dedication to Besa kept Sophia alive to finally see the end of the war.
Connecting Daniel's survival all the way back to the modern day, where his granddaughter journeys back to the very country that saved him, leaves us with a really profound question. If the ultimate test of humanity is risking everything you have to keep a promise to a total stranger, what does our own code of honor look like today? What is our standard of moral courage when we are put under extreme pressure? It's just a remarkable story that proves sometimes the most unbreakable shield isn't made of steel at all, but of honor. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.